No!
What's going on over there?
Bang around on this real good.
Oh, I just thought of a note to make for one of my movies.
Damn it. Come on, dude. Suck less. Ow.
You all right over there?
And also stab myself, apparently.
Uh-oh, I don't like this one viewer thing.
There's no Monday Night Football tonight.
It's no more Monday Night Football, period.
In fact,
Oh, it's your toast, by the way. Ah, it's so weird.
what's weird about it?
That you're drinking chocolate, basically, in beer form. So ski! I just saw your last message. Red roof. We are mentioning the refugee caravan in this episode, by the way. You done with this?
I am.
Dear. Price is wrong, bitch.
No, Bob.
Oh, right. No. Maybe.
I'm pretty sure it's Bob.
I thought it was bitch. I thought they said Bob in the trailer, but bitch in the movie. I don't know.
GTSB. Yes, you saw it here first. Jason shoving paper in his mouth.
No, I was trying to use it as a toothpick.
Yeah, how'd that work out for you?
It only made the problem worse.
I don't know. You should be using the edge of the paper.
I tried.
Use this thing. Use the executioner.
Yeah.
Shit.
Oh, there we go.
Bob's your uncle. There you go.
All right. Much better.
Jesus.
Got to do what you got to do sometimes. So, all right, we got a few people in there. All right.
If you're watching, hit the thumbs up.
Yes, please. Like, and we already know you subscribe. Okay. me. So, do you have a toast?
No, but I'll do it live.
As we do.
Yep.
All right, we got our notes here. Very fancy this week.
Very fancy. Oh, it's good. That's one less thing I have to have open.
Mm-hmm. All right.
All right. Let's do it.
Anything else before we start?
Nope. Let's do it.
All right. We'll do it live. Oh, yeah. We got to do our 30 seconds of silence.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is a chocolate stove. I don't know how I like it. It's weird. Hold on. Let me get my stopwatch.
I don't know.
Go on, I said again. All right. 30 seconds of silence starting now.
Is it going to shut off? You're right. You got to restart because it beeped and it did all kinds of shit.
All right.
There. Now.
For real this time. 30 seconds of silence starting now.
To Big Dick Nick.
To Big Dick Nick.
It was a great ride. Unfortunately, it is over.
Yeah.
Or fortunately, depends on who you ask.
It was it was fun to watch, even though I'm kind of an outside observer. I'm sort of a semi-adopted Eagles fan.
Right.
And yeah, watching what happened with them at the end of the season was really fun.
Yeah.
Nick Foles aside, just watching them go from like, oh fuck, we're done after that second loss to the Cowboys. I thought they were over, and then all of a sudden, just boom, they just picked it right up, and like fucking the best possible scenario that could happen to them in Week 17 happened, and they actually, monkey fucked their way into the playoffs. And
well, that's the thing. You still have to do your job.
Yeah,
they still have to win the games.
Mm-hmm.
So to go and beat the shit out of Washington and to beat the Texans, which were a good team.
Yeah.
And to do it with your backup quarterback again, he went 6-2, I think. Is that
this season?
Yeah, including the playoffs. Okay. I think. Maybe. I'm talking out my ass. I'm trying to forget flu guy. Big Lovin's got the flu?
Uh-oh.
That's a big flu.
Better get better by the 22nd.
Yeah.
Of March.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, I don't want to rehash any more Eagles stuff. I'm trying to move on.
Yeah.
It was disappointing.
Mm-hmm.
The Saints proved they are beatable. So hopefully the Rams go in there and do it, whatever. Yeah. I think that between the two of us, though, we're Chiefs fans now.
Yeah, I was really impressed with what I saw with the Chiefs.
Oh, yeah.
Last week. Like, they looked really good. At least their offense looked fucking tight.
So the problem is they have to play against Belichick.
Yeah.
And Andy Reid doesn't beat, the Patriots. Yeah. He just doesn't. So this is the time. This is the time, Andy. You get in there. There's a great meme today about Andy Reid, like Andy Reid thinking about the fast food buffet.
Yeah, you're
that he'll have.
Away.
Yeah, that's the fast food buffet that he's going to have at the White House, and it's like Andy Reid like freaking out, like woo!
Yeah.
It's a great meme.
Like I am just absolutely in love with memes right now. I don't know what it is. It's not like it's a new thing or anything, but for some reason, I don't know if I just have a lot of time to fucking scroll through Facebook feeds and like copy and paste memes, but like I'm just having a lot of fun with them right now, mostly Star Wars related. But when I see something like that with the Andy Reid, where they took a still shot of it, like his fat ass,
it's like and he's notorious in the Eagles locker room.
Yeah.
They'd have all sorts of, like, they weren't on like this strict diet plan where it was like, oh fuck, you want burgers and fries and all that shit, there it is.
Yep.
Have at it. And look, he had success. It was the Chip Kelly era that he rolled in there and was like, no, nobody's eating this bullshit. And your reward will be a milkshake.
Yeah.
Like, just trying to, like, he was treating them like college kids.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck Chip Kelly. How do we even get into this?
I don't even know.
Don't you have an introduction to do?
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to All Things Star Wars, the greatest Star Wars podcast in the galaxy. I'm Mr. Jason Roscom. With me here each and every single week, the Darth Vader to my Palpatine, Dave Martin. Hello, Dave.
Hello, Jason.
How you been?
I am struggling.
Yeah.
But I'm here. We're here to do it. We're wearing our matching t-shirts today.
Yes, we are.
Hello. If hopefully Brady's looking, see?
Yes, please.
And I think it's cool enough, we're warm enough that our nipples aren't popped out in it, so that'd be a little bit embarrassing.
Yeah. Little chilly.
A little bit. It's okay though. It's good. We're in short sleeves. We're good.
Yeah. So what are we talking about today?
What are we talking about? Oh yeah, we're gonna move that over there. We're reordering our Star Wars order
movies.
Yes. Yeah.
We're revisiting our first topic from our very first episode.
Like he said, I don't even know why he asked me.
Where we ordered the movies in our preferential order. So
episode 1.
Yeah, episode 1 of the All Things
Star
Wars
that will
podcast.
live in infamy.
Yeah, almost 2 years ago,
Jesus Christ, really?
Yeah, we sat down and we ranked the movies to our personal preference. Since then, 2 more movies have come out, Solo and The Last Jedi. So where do they fall in our rankings? Well, you'll just have to tune in to find out. Because before we get to that, we've got a few things to talk about. First of all, the refugee caravan that's coming out here for our 100th episode has picked a date, and we are now for sure going to see the refugees on March 22nd. So That's a Friday, but I don't know when we're gonna actually record it. Probably won't be the 22nd. It'll probably be the 23rd or 24th. We'll have to.
We still have to figure all that
Yeah,
out.
figure out when is best for these people. But yes, some of the refugees, some of our loyal listeners are showing up for episode 100, and we got to pick a fucking topic too.
Ooh, yeah, geez.
That's gonna be like
that's probably an important little bit.
Yeah.
Of like, I don't know, the 100th episode.
Yeah, where it's
maybe we have a topic.
Yeah, like 4 to 7 guys all sitting around talking about Star Wars. We should probably have some focus.
Yeah.
When we
you know what? Honestly, it's a podcast like that type of episode. We should not be like, it shouldn't be about the comics. It should probably be something about the broader Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
You know, and make it something that everyone can have a conversation about, as opposed to like just the super nerds like Bronco Fett, who's just signed on. Hi, Bronco Fett.
Yeah.
Welcome home from work.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what we're talking about. Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped ahead.
You did. You wrote down notes. I don't know why you put them in the middle. I don't look at this shit. Put it there so you can read it. What the fuck do I care? You're the ringleader of this circus.
I guess so. So, all right. Well, we have a day in Star Wars. Are we done talking about the caravan?
Yes.
All right.
For now. I mean, we have several weeks to continue to talk about it.
All right. So we have a day in Star Wars, which is January 17th, which is what's today? 2 days from when we're recording. And that is January 17th, 1931. So 89 years ago.
Oh, John Williams was born? No, he's not that old.
It's a person was born, but I'm just trying to. Is that 89 years ago?
I don't fucking know.
31.
I'm doing calculus now. It's not real math. So my ability to do real math.
Yeah. So anyway, actor James Earl Jones is born. So wait,
What?
31. So he'd be 88.
88. Yeah.
Yeah.
88.
No. Yeah. 88. Math is hard. Sorry, guys. So that motherfucker is almost 90. If I were Disney, and I've said this before on the podcast, I would grab James Earl Jones and say, we'll pay you $1,500 an hour or whatever the fuck your going rate is for voice acting. Sit him down and just have J.J. Abrams, fucking anybody that you can get a hold of, write just a ton of random fucking dialogue and have James Earl Jones record all the fucking dialogue in the world you could imagine.
The quick brown fox jumps over to lazy dog.
Anything.
Yeah,
anything. Get him to record as much dialogue as you can for like future fucking movies, fucking animated series, whatever.
Yeah.
He could die tonight for all we know.
Stop. No. There will be no dying tonight.
That's that Dave superstition. But yes, for fuck's sake, get him and have him record everything. You could do a Darth Vader movie. Like 10 years from now, when James Earl Jones is dead, if you sit him down now and just record all this fucking dialogue.
I have you now.
Yeah. So please do that, Disney. Because he's been reprising his role quite a bit lately between Rebels, fucking Rogue One. He wasn't in Solo, but yeah. Get him. And that Vader, that fucking VR game that's coming out this year. Apparently
he's in that. Yeah.
So
it's easy money.
Indeed. Yeah. It's like, what the fuck else are you going to do? Just sitting around and, wasting away?
In Margaritaville.
Yes. So for our weeks, I don't know if you're going to have much to talk about. I really don't, because I had to work all weekend. And I mentioned this last episode. I had to work this last fucking weekend. Really fucking busy, like long days, like 10, 12-hour days, both days this weekend. So I didn't have time to do shit this fucking weekend. On top of that, a close relative of mine in California is not doing well health-wise. And because of that, I am actually making a kind of last-minute trip to my hometown of Bakersfield, California this weekend. So that is going to mess up our recording for next week, because we normally record on either Monday, sometimes Tuesday, but I won't be flying back home to New Jersey until Tuesday of next week. So I mean, I guess we could theoretically fit it in Tuesday night.
Yeah, we'll have to see how you feel.
Yeah, we'll play it by ear.
We'll do it live.
Yeah, as we tend to do.
Yeah, as we're doing this evening.
Indeed. So, yeah, that's what's been going on with me. So, if you're in the California area, I'll be around this weekend.
Yeah, maybe you can hook up with Brent and talk about,
I don't think he's speaking to me right now. So,
what did you do?
Nothing. That's the problem. So, but anyway.
You're such an ass.
What's been going on with you?
Just work, school, rinse, repeat right now.
Yeah.
Nothing exciting. watching the Eagles lose their championship hopes and dreams. However, the Cowboys lost. So
yes, that's always a good thing.
That makes me happy.
Yeah, the Cowboys and the fucking Seahawks are both out of the playoffs.
Yep.
I'm good. And that's the funny thing, because of the 4 teams that are left right now, I wouldn't mind if any of them won. Like, I don't hate the Saints, don't hate the Rams, don't hate Chiefs, and because of my wife and other people that I know that are big Patriots fans, I don't really hate the Patriots either.
You should just set your phone to not lock.
I don't know what the fuck is going on. Normally, it doesn't do that during the show.
Well, it's doing it now, so it's distracting.
All right, I may have fixed it. So.
No, you didn't.
You don't know.
It's going to lock again.
You don't know.
It's going to lock again.
Oh, how much you want to bet?
I don't have any money.
All
right. So yeah, aside from rear-ending somebody because I'm not because I was inebriated or anything like that. I was just slightly distracted. Not on my phone, even just turned my head for a second and whatever. So fun stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff. I'm ready for a win, Jason. I'm ready for a win.
I feel you. Well, maybe you'll get that with this episode.
Hopefully.
As we rank the movies and maybe have some good discussion. That's really it. Do you want to go ahead and hop right into
Let's just jump right in.
All right,
I will say this. The reason that we're a little bit accelerated on our timeline is because I have to sit through a video presentation about a master's degree program that my dumb ass is thinking about doing. If I can get, there's a funding issue there, but I think, I don't know. I like the idea of getting my master's degree. I just don't like the idea of the work. So
yeah,
that's going to be,
that sounds like a lot of work.
So we'll see. But yeah, so I have to do that at 8:00. So that's why, I don't know why I'm grandstanding now, but whatever. So
yeah, sorry.
You got a cough too? I've been fighting this fucking cough, man.
Kristen was sick all fucking weekend. She was like on her deathbed. So
she got healthy enough to make us a great dinner.
Yes, she did. And I've had coworkers who've been sick.
The fucking winter's the worst.
It is.
Sidebar.
Yeah.
The fucking winter can suck a bag of dicks.
Mm-hmm.
I am so tired of it. Dude, look at this. Look at my fucking hands.
Yeah.
I grew up in this environment, and some reason my skin's decided to be like, fuck you. You know what? I'm going to crack and bleed when you fucking make a fist.
That happens to me a lot. Kristen and the boys get that really bad.
It's like
they've got really bad skin.
This is after I mean, this is like putting shit on it like twice today, and it's still like that. Ugh. It won't heal. And I put overnight stuff on. It's fucking the worst. I hate the cold.
Are you fucking sick too?
I've been fighting him.
Jesus Christ.
Yep.
Yeah, right before I go on my California trip, I'm around all these fucking patient zeros.
Mm-hmm.
But all right, so we ready to hop right into it? Fuck it, we'll do it live, right?
We are doing it
all right, so as we mentioned at the top of the show, we are going through our preferential order for the Star Wars movies. This is every Star Wars movie that's been released theatrically. So all of the Skywalker saga, as it's now being called.
Fuck, I forgot the Clone Wars.
Serious?
It's not going to change anything, but we all know where that's going to go.
Yeah, the animated Clone Wars, Rogue One, Solo. What am I missing?
So there's 11 total.
Yes. Well, why not just make 10 louder? These go to 11. All right. So
some of these guys might not, but I've got 11.
Yeah.
You guys say it in English accent, otherwise people aren't going to understand what you're talking about.
Yeah. Why don't you just make 10 louder, and then 10 would be the loudest. These go to 11. So
anyway,
we
are Spinal Tap.
Yes, we're entertaining ourselves here. So who wants to start this week? Now, Who
started when we did episode 1?
I started.
Okay,
when we did the last one. So do you want to start this time?
Is it my toast? Wait, yeah, I'll start.
Fuck it. We'll do it.
All right. Because there's more of them now too. So that now we have like whatever order we had in the first one, it's not going to matter because we have more movies. So
yes.
So are we going to do like we did the first time, where like
we stagger it, like you go your 1 and I got my 1, 2, and then your 2, 3, my 3, 4, blah 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 blah.
No, I mean like before we did like, or maybe we didn't do it. Never, you know what? Never mind. We'll do it live. I'm losing it, guys. I apologize.
Dave's having a stroke live on YouTube. So
yeah, if you start seeing drooping, you should really call an ambulance. But wait till after we're finished taping.
Yeah, and let me take
because it'll be entertaining. Nonetheless. Yeah. All right. So, fuck it. So I'm going first.
So you're number 11.
My number 11. Guess what my number 11 is? As I just updated it with you reminding
me. I could only imagine. I think we've been watching the Clone Wars series.
Right.
Maybe the Clone Wars movie?
You are correct, sir.
Yeah.
It's the fucking Clone Wars, because you would have to make probably 5 or 6 Star Wars movies that were so bad. I mean, so bad that like we would have to stop doing a Star Wars podcast because they're so bad. Like we can't even talk about Star Wars anymore.
We can't even,
because like such the diarrhea of Star Wars would be dripping down the leg of fucking somebody. You know, Kathleen Kennedy's. You know, just her pantsuits or whatever the fuck she's wearing, and she's just diarrhea just dripping into her shoes and everything else. That's how bad the Clone Wars is.
Yeah,
that movie. It was so.
Well, and the
awful.
Yeah, the interesting thing too is the fact, since we've did this original list in our first episode, we watched the Clone Wars to review it because we're like, God, I don't really remember much of it. Let's see if it was as bad as we remember.
Yeah.
We watched it. It was as bad as we remember.
Yeah.
But we did find out through research and everything else that it was actually just 4 episodes of the fucking show all mashed together in one 2-hour diarrhea flow.
And we know we weren't huge fans of season 1 of the Clone Wars.
Right.
So it kind of was, it started from the bottom and it worked its way back down the ladder. And then, it's working its way back up to some happy medium there. But originally, I think they were just a little schizophrenic in what they were trying to accomplish with the show. Like, hey, we want to do an animated thing. Let's release this with some vague idea of like what people are going to be doing. And ultimately, the Clone Wars itself, the TV show, I think veered a little bit from what they were trying to do initially in the Clone Wars movie. So it's not really even a fair comparison to compare the Clone Wars series to that Clone Wars movie.
Yeah, and I even wrote in my notes, because my number 11, spoiler alert, is the Clone Wars, and I wrote
surprising no one.
I wrote still terrible, but after watching some of the series and now kind of seeing the way the show is progressing and the direction that it's going, maybe it could eventually redeem this movie. I don't know how, because the movie itself is a piece of garbage, but this is the foundation for which the show was built upon. So, for better or worse, this is what started the series. And we saw it towards the end of season 2 when we talked about it last week, I think, that, hey, it's actually getting better, and it's turning into eventually what all these fucking fanboys are masturbating over like all the time.
Listen, you're putting whipped cream on a pile of dog shit right now. So it's still Star Wars, but it's not a good representation of a cinematic. The fact that we're talking about this at all in our cinematic releases. And remember, when we were talking about it, I had no idea it was even in the fucking movie theater, I think. So I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
So yet I had seen it, or I bought the DVD when it came out.
You still have that too, right?
I do. Yeah. It's in my travel DVDs stuffed away somewhere.
Yeah. Which, by the way, so we talked about last week that the Clone Wars is still on Netflix.
What were you looking at?
Looking at
you,
the audience.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't think that original movie is on Netflix. I think there's very few places where you can actually watch that.
It was originally
DVD being one of them.
It was originally on Netflix.
Was it?
When I started watching Clone Wars on Netflix, the Clone Wars movie, like when you search for Clone Wars, the movie popped up along with the seasons.
Oh, okay.
So there was 2. The fact is, I bet you it's on there.
Okay, maybe you could be right, but I don't recall seeing it. And
I'll look at it while you're. Well,
yeah.
So you got to do 11 and 10.
Yeah, and really,
I'm more interested in what your number 10 is.
Yeah, the only other Clone Wars that I had was when we covered this again in, what was it, episode like 3 or 4 of the podcast, and we had to rewatch it. I fucking fell asleep for like 15 minutes of this movie. I have a vague recollection of like Anakin and Ahsoka like crashing a ship down on fucking Tatooine and then fucking nodding off and waking up, and like they had Jabba's baby in their fucking hand again. It's just like, oh god, can I go back to sleep, please? So yeah, Clone Wars still fucking terrible.
Yep.
So moving on, number 10, episode 1, The Phantom Menace. It's still my number 10.
Again, surprising no one.
Yeah, but so in preparation for this episode, I actually went back and I re-listened to episode 1 of the All Things Star Wars podcast. And something that I said during that episode when I was talking about Phantom Menace was, the one thing that we learned from the Phantom Menace was to lower our expectations for Star Wars movies.
Huh.
Funny story. This was before The Last Jedi came out.
Yeah.
So
we didn't learn.
No,
we did not learn
nothing.
We learned nothing. That's really funny.
Yeah. And the other note I took here, which we didn't talk about last time, but you know what just kind of sums up this whole movie for me? Just like how just shitty it was done. And this may seem like something pretty benign to most people, but go back and watch the scene. It's towards the end where they're doing like the 3-prong battle, where it's like fucking the lightsaber duel, the fucking Gungans fighting the battle droids, and it's fucking Padme and her entourage just trying to navigate through the fucking temple. So when Padme and her people are all like trying to fight their way to the top of the fucking castle or whatever, there's this one scene where they're like boxed in, like, oh, we can't go anywhere. Shoot the windows out. So they shoot the fucking windows out with their laser guns, right? The windows shatter like, bah! Which I don't think lasers would just like fucking make.
Well, maybe it depends on what they're made of.
But. Yeah, but anyway, and then they step on the ledge and they're like grappling hooks. Every one of them all have a grappling hook that they take out. Even Padme, even the fucking queen, for some reason, has a grappling hook on her belt for some fucking reason. And they all just like put their arms up. They do the grapple hooks. And they're all just standing there with just like blank fucking looks on their faces, just like
at least in the old 60s Batman movie, they were like pretended like they were moving or something. They didn't do shit.
No,
it was the smoothest grapple hook maneuver ever.
And they did a close up on their faces, like especially Natalie Portman's face, and they're just like,
and they had no direction for acting. Like, okay, what's my motivation here? I don't know. Think of something.
Like I am pretending to be a human being right now.
I do what humans do.
Yeah. It's like, what the fuck? But just go back and rewatch that scene and just like type it into YouTube. It's in fucking YouTube. Just type in Phantom Menace grappling hook scene.
Right.
And watch it. And you're just like, this is fucking retarded.
Okay. So
how did this ever get made?
That's not the scene that kills me.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate to bring up because Jar Jar obviously is the catch-all for Phantom Menace.
Sure, yeah.
For spoiler alert, my number 10 is Phantom Menace.
Okay.
So
we're on track here.
The scene for me is when you have the interaction between Obi-Wan and, it's Obi-Wan and fucking, what's his nuts? Qui-Gon, right? And they're interacting with all the CGI characters at once. You actually... I get it. Like for the time, the animation and the overlay with real people wasn't necessarily going to flow that well, not nearly as well as it does now. Obviously, it's fucking brilliant now.
Yeah.
But at the time, if you would have watched that, and there's later scenes in other movies where like the CGI still isn't quite getting there, and it just looks like shit. It just really looks like crap.
Yeah.
I've watched Phantom Menace within the past, I don't know, 3 months, where I watched a portion of it. Honestly trying to find oh, my wife's calling. Hang on. This is riveting for everyone. Taping podcast will call later.
Unless she wants to be on the podcast.
She doesn't. So anyway, invalid number. What the fuck is happening? Anyway. So the CGI was so overdone, and we've talked about it at length, right?
Yeah.
Where this was Lucas really expanding into the CGI world, wanted to do everything in CGI.
Yeah.
And what got lost in it? Oh, she's calling from work. All right. Keep them entertained.
Okay, so first let me write down the time because so 17:56. We will have to edit this out for the audio audience. Edit. Fuck, when did we start? God damn it. All right. Oh, you remember that scene in Scanners when that dude's head explodes? Yeah, that's me right now. So far, our lists match exactly what happened in episode 1 of the podcast, but we'll see what happens. So, all right, I'm going to go through the chat since Dave is indisposed. Got to do new dynamic microphone. They came. Oh, Scott. All right. The sound of my podcast better. That's what's up, Dave. I did see your post, by the way, Scott, on Instagram with the different mics, the new mics and stuff. So that is cool. Use and abuse. All right. Dave is back.
Here I come.
All right.
Did you write down the time if you wanted to edit that
I
part
did.
out?
Note the time, motherfuckers. It's 12:45. Jerking off. Note the
Sorry about that,
time.
peeps.
All right, so it's 17:57. All right, 1 minute. Anyway, back to episode 1.
Episode 1. So we talked about at length. I already said this about the Lucas and the animation, blah, 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 right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think at some point when you're making a movie, you have to realize that, okay, I'm watching this and the scenes that were done really well.
Oh, yeah, it was a beautiful, like graphics wise, it was.
And the fight, the best part of this movie, the only thing I really give a shit about this movie, besides the music, because John Williams, God,
yeah,
is that fight scene. There was the intensity with the music and everything else. That's fucking Star Wars.
Yep.
That's Star Wars. And even the parts where I'm not saying that everything that Darth Maul was in was fucking good, because not all of it was, but the drama with his character, even when they had the quick fight on Tatooine before fucking Qui-Gon jumps into the fucking shiny ship and it takes off.
Yep.
You know, the pan in and all that shit. That's Star Wars.
Yep.
All the CGI shit and all the interaction with the locals and all that bullshit, it was forced. Even from a movie perspective, I don't think it would have made a good movie.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of baseline that developed with our with Phantom Menace.
Mm-hmm.
And it develops into what happens in the other two movies. But
sure.
I think it's lost. I think that the effective movie, and guess what? I saw it in 3D.
Oh,
when they released
3D.
It. Yeah. I saw it in 3D. Wasn't any better.
Yeah.
It was the only cool thing about seeing it in 3D was the fight scene, which wasn't much 3D, to be honest.
Yeah.
But it was great because Jeff and Kate got to see it in the theater.
Yeah.
They got to see episode 1 in the theater.
Yeah.
And I was hoping that they were going to do all 3 of them.
Yeah. Which that was the original plan before the buyout and all that. But
yeah, and then all that changed.
Sidebar, before we move on to your number 9, did you know that in just a few months, Phantom Menace will be 20 years old? Came out in 99, and we are in 2019 now.
That makes sense. Kate's almost.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
So May 19th, it will be 20 fucking years old.
We're old.
Yeah. Something to think about.
I don't want to think about that.
Yeah.
So, all right. I think we've beat Phantom Menace to death. We got more pleasant things to talk about.
Yeah. One of these days, we'll actually just cover it, like beginning to end as a movie, like as a movie review on the show.
Sure. We should. There's a lot of movies.
We should probably do it for the 20th anniversary, honestly.
Well, let's put a pin in that. But as we sit here, because we did the reviews for your other podcast, I think we don't think about the reviews as much because we really haven't reviewed any of the old movies.
No, not really.
So that's good content that, like you said, could be a good 100th episode.
Ooh, okay. All right. Well, we'll put that pin in the map. All right. Your number 9.
It's not necessarily the map. It's more like, just...
You said map.
Oh, I didn't.
Did
I?
Maybe. I think he said map. Did he say map? All right, whatever. I don't give a shit.
The map. The map. The map.
Number 9.
Oh, it's my number 9.
Yeah.
My number 9 is The Last Jedi.
Interesting.
So I got to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
9 through probably 6 were difficult.
Yeah.
Rating them. I started getting into this point where even The Last Jedi, we beat it to death.
Yes.
On this podcast.
Everybody else.
Yeah. And it's still the reason it's so low on my list is when I think, and it's so close to Phantom Menace, what I think about is there's parts of that movie that made me feel like I wasn't watching Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There were some really good parts where it was like, okay, but they were so far in between of the stinkers.
Yeah.
Yeah. All the stuff with Luke at the end, I really have come to enjoy and really appreciate it. There was a lot of good interactions that I think were important for our progression in Star Wars.
Sure.
But so much of it was just like, God, I really dislike this. I want to fast forward.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why I keep it so low. There was enough scenes in there to make me really want to I'm only a fan of maybe 55% of this movie.
Right.
Maybe closer to 65%.
Right. Which puts it right about into the realm of the prequels.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly.
Yeah. And we'll talk about it later, but I just think that from a perspective of what that movie gave us, it didn't give us enough to really get us to the next step. But it gave us a lot of nonsense. And nonsense in a Star Wars movie is going to make me keep it down on my list.
See, the problem is for the better part of like 3 decades, we had George Lucas at the helm. He was the sole guy. What he said went.
Is that loud?
Yes, it was very loud.
Okay.
He had a vision.
Just making sure.
Even if it wasn't always the best vision with, Phantom Menace and Clone Wars movie and whatnot, it was his vision, and he had it planned out. He was a visionary. He planned it out. First scene of the first movie all the way to the last scene of the last movie. It was the way that he wanted it. Whereas we've talked this to death, there was no direction from episode 7 to episode 8. It was fucking Kathleen Kennedy being like, JJ, go make a movie. Now Rian Johnson, go make a movie. And with very, very little instructions. And that's where everything got disjointed, I think. And that's where you see the stark difference between, JJ versus Rian Johnson's style and the messages they wanted to get out there.
Well, what's amazing about what you're saying is there is somebody that's just there in the Star Wars universe that, that keeps the continuity together for the comics, for the books, all that shit.
The story group.
Yeah. You have Matt Martin, you have
Leland Chi,
that
other guy.
The guy I can't remember.
Yeah,
I want to say Hideki Matsui, but he's a baseball player. Like that's I don't know, random penguin swam in there. But you have people that have the continuity, and it seems like they weren't even consulted.
Yeah,
they just it was between JJ, and then it went to Ryan.
Yeah,
and then that's it. They never went back to the story room and say, okay, all right, where's everything else going? Like what would make sense for what we're doing here? This is what we have as an idea, and maybe they don't even use some of their ideas, but at least consult them.
Sure.
Because they're a big part of this universe.
Yeah.
You're writing books and you're doing all these things to make the Star Wars universe so much bigger.
Yep.
Clone Wars show, Rebels, all these animated series that are coming out with.
Yeah. And we've talked about it, how they're really well integrating all of this shit together. References from one to the other and just.
And reach backs into older stuff and everything else. And why would you not it's so disjointed.
Yeah. And it goes back to this weird message that Rian Johnson was trying to push out, and that's let the past die. This isn't your dad's Star Wars anymore. We're killing off everything you liked, and you just have to accept that this is the new thing. And it's like, well, no, I don't have to. Fuck you.
So Brady Big Lovin brings up a good point, and we're talking about continuity. He said that Lucas didn't know where he was going from 1 to 2. Point Splinter in a Mind's Eye.
Oh, I totally agree with that.
Yeah,
and he means episode 4 to 5.
Right, exactly. And honestly, you've read Splinter in a Mind's Eye?
No.
When you read it, it's not even. I don't even think that it was 100% like where George was thinking of anyway. I think the Splinter in a Mind's Eye was just okay. Here's an idea for where this could go.
Yeah, it was other asshole wanted to write a book.
Yeah, and it was. The twins thing wasn't a thing.
Right.
And Splinter's my eyes. Yeah. Everything was different in that. And it was reading something off to the side. It was kind of like reading Star Wars fan fiction.
Yeah.
With Splinter in Mind's Eye. So I don't necessarily think that it's the same concept. I do agree that he made Star Wars independent of everything. And then when Empire Strikes Back came out, it's like, okay, I've made this. Now I'm going to move it into that.
Yeah.
Based on its level of success.
But either way, he was still the one person making decisions about the story. So I don't know. I think he still had a lot more better direction for where he was going to take these characters. He ultimately found his way.
Yeah.
And I think with the prequels, as much as you want to dog the fucking prequels and say how shitty they were, that more than the original trilogy, you could tell he planned out, he plotted things along. He dropped hints in episode 1 that were touched on in episode 2 and 3. And, the way he laid it out, like Palpatine's rise to power, it was very deliberate. And I think it was well done in that respect, in the planning respect. Yeah. Clearly when Luke and Leia are fucking kissing in Empire, it's like, and then you find out they're siblings.
Yeah.
It's like,
that was
really
probably
know that, or did he just try to have another "I am your father" moment with with Return of the Jedi by doing the Leia?
Probably
reveal?
not. I think it was like, this is where this could go, and then we're going to write into something else. But whatever. We're not talking about that. We were talking about Last Jedi. So that was my number
9.
9.
And I want to caveat this with, we have not seen each other's lists. Okay,
Right.
we didn't know what each other was going to do for ordering the movies.
Right, just like last time.
Yeah. So that being said, my number 9, The Last Jedi. So, and I wrote one interesting note. I think time will tell, because here's the thing: a lot of people love this. Like some people in the chat, you know, they actually really like it. A lot of our listeners really like The Last Jedi, and you know what? That's fine. Like, I can understand why some people like it. I think it's a fucking disjointed mess, but I can understand why some people like it. But I think time is going to tell that this was just a fucking haphazardly put together, just fucking jumble of shit. Because and that's what it is. It's not. We're not going to get into the fucking conversation about you're a racist or sexist or bigot if you don't like this, because that's not what it is. It's the whole fucking story is retarded. Okay, the whole fucking story is stupid in this thing, and it's just put together so poorly with some very poorly written characters that make no goddamn sense why they're there or why they're doing the things that they do. Had some great redeeming qualities, some really good stuff. I loved the entire throne room scene with fucking Rey, Ben, and Snoke. Love that whole thing. Really enjoyed when Rey fought Luke. When it was like the two fucking antennas against each other. I actually thought that was a really cool scene.
Yeah, there was, like I had said, there's definitely some. I liked all the Luke stuff, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, I'm not 100% a fan of where they took his character, like just being a crotchety old fuck who doesn't want to help out. But
I guess I bought into it, like you say, as time goes on, and I think more and more about that movie. Those are the things that I come to appreciate more.
Sure.
But still, those other parts, the space navy, this space fucking sailing ship navy that we're just going to shoot just out of range, and we're going to run out of fuel, and it's like, oh god.
And even that, like more than that, like fucking Stutter McGee and his whole fucking storyline that made no goddamn sense and ended up being for fucking nothing.
I promise
nothing.
Yeah, it's Ryan Johnson promising fucking Salvador del Toro, whatever the fuck his name is.
Yeah.
Is that his name?
Benicio del Toro.
Fair enough.
Close enough.
Salvatore. He promised old Sal a part in a Star Wars movie if he got one, and then sure as shit was like, all right, I got to write this guy in.
Yeah.
It could have very easily been an alien. I mean, it probably would have been more viable at that point. And then you make BB-8 into a fucking slot machine, and you're just like, oh god damn it, what the fuck? And then let's have a horse chasing. Let's go. And
it's like, oh yeah, this is why we fight, to release animals and kiss strangers. Anyway, so, and now I will leave this one little piece of fruit hanging, and that's, we haven't seen what happens in episode 9 yet.
Yeah.
Maybe the events of episode 9 make everything clear. Maybe JJ brings it all home and it's like, oh, this whole trilogy as a whole was amazing. So,
look, this is great. This stuff in the chat right now. Is TLJ bashing a part of the show? Apparently. When I made it number 9, I caveated with the fact that it's just these are our opinions.
Yeah.
And I'm not writing off The Last Jedi. I'm just thinking out of the orders of the ones I enjoy and what I take out of it, this just happened to be number 9.
And
for me.
Yeah, and for me, the way that I did this is if I'm gonna sit down and watch a Star Wars movie, if I'm gonna go to the sacred text and pick out one of the fucking movies and sit down and watch it front to back, this is the order that I would actually want to watch them in front to back, not like the actual viewing order, but like how much I would enjoy it to how much I would dislike it. The experience as a whole. And just honestly, if I had to sit and watch Last Jedi from start to finish right now, I'd want to fucking kill myself, because there's just too much of it that's just a steaming turd pile. Anyway, moving on. My number 8, right? We're at my 8.
Yes.
This is where it really got hard for me, much like never mind.
That is what
she said, yes, or he said
what he said.
Yeah. So yeah, these next few, it was really, really hard to kind of order these. But it was episode 3, Revenge of the Sith.
Okay.
And I'm just gonna say this now. This is gonna be a spoiler for my number 7. But Revenge of the Sith and Attack of the Clones are so close for me in quality, watchability. They're practically just the same long extended movie for me, and that's not a bad thing, because one thing that you got to note here is I don't hate these movies. Like, 'cause even though we're still towards the bottom of the list, I don't hate the prequels, like at least these 2 prequels,
right?
Like as much as I hate like Clone Wars or.
Well, let's face it. The only Star Wars movies that I can say that I hate are the Clone Wars and the Holiday Special.
Okay. So
those are the only thing. Everything else is like, it's Star Wars and I'll watch it if it's on. But like, I'm in the same boat with you. If I'm going to sit down, I have time to watch a Star Wars movie, this is the order I'm going in.
Exactly.
So I feel you.
Yep. So, and the thing I wrote about Revenge of the Sith is this movie could have been, this had the potential to be one of the best Star Wars movies out there. But because George still hadn't quite figured out how to write dialogue and direct actors and actually acting, it fell short. Because this was kind of the culmination of a lot of things. And I think the thing that really sticks out for me is, like I mentioned before, Palpatine's rise to power. This was Palpatine's movie. This was, Ian McDiarmid almost stole the show with this movie. But we had that weird character turn with him at the end, where once he became, the Emperor and all that, and especially starting about the time he fought Yoda, he just turned into this weird, like, laughing fucking witch looking dude. And it was just his character turned weird when his character could have just been so fucking dark and evil and nasty and just like been the meanest motherfucker on the planet. But instead they did this weird shit, probably because they didn't want the kids to get scared. But that's the direction they should have taken.
I don't know that George knew necessarily how to do dark at that point, and still keep it a kids movie.
True.
Like, now that we're shifting to a time when like so many more adults are probably watching this movie than kids, then you can get away with it a little bit more, like in Rogue One, for example. You get that scene. So
and the best thing to come out of the Revenge of the Sith lately has been all the memes.
Anakin, you're breaking my heart. See this? You haven't looked at the chat.
Oh god, no, I missed that. But like, seriously though, the memes from Revenge of the Sith alone are fucking just epic, and it's an ever-flowing thing. If you follow any of the right Star Wars Facebook groups or Reddit pages or whatever, the fucking episode 3 memes are just fucking great. The best one that just came out a couple weeks ago too is the fact that Revenge of the Sith was the only PG-13 Star Wars movie, which means you get one fuck anywhere in a PG-13 movie. And it's like, where would you put, fuck? And there's a million memes going on about that. The best one was, though, when fucking Palpatine goes, "I am the Senate." And Mace Windu goes, "Fuck the Senate."
Oh, I've seen that one. Yes.
Oh, I thought that was fucking hilarious. Like, they should have done that in the movie. They should have.
Especially with fucking Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah. I am the Senate. Fuck the Senate. But whatever. So it had so much potential. It just kind of fell short. But like I said, I put episodes 2 and 3 like right there together. They're practically the same movie. But if I had to choose an order, episode 3 would be slightly lower.
Fair enough.
So what do you got?
So it's my number 8, right?
C.
3PO. My number 8 is Rogue One.
What?
Yes.
Get the fuck out.
Again, this mid group was tough for me.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So I honestly, when we've talked about Rogue One and I think we reviewed it. No, we didn't review it.
We did it for Project VCR, not for this podcast.
Fair enough. I just wasn't a fan. Probably the moment that made the movie for me was Vader. Vader absolutely fucking decimating people in that fucking corridor. I mean, I will watch that scene 1,000 fucking times. I mean, it's a great scene. It's a building block of Star Wars.
Sure.
It's a great look into the story aside as it's running kind of parallel to other things.
Yeah.
And I think they did for Star Wars as a foundational piece. I think they did a great job. It was pretty. There were parts of it that were like, if I played it just for the music, but I wasn't a huge fan of the music.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't like I'm so used to John Williams, and there was just some modernization of some of that music that just threw me off. The tone of it threw me off when they were throwing up like, look, I'm going to sit there and again, managing expectations, right? And this is before Last Jedi.
Yeah.
So I sat in a movie theater and it was, I think they had the crawl.
No, there was no crawl in Rogue One.
So there's no crawl.
Yeah,
that's right. There wasn't any crawl.
Yeah.
And then they throw up a title, Star Trek style.
Yeah,
on the fucking, and then here's this planet's name. I'm like, you don't do that. You don't do that in Star Wars. There's no fucking like Tatooine. 3662 AD or whatever. Like, you don't know. That's not a Star Wars thing.
Yeah.
You don't fucking do that.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a bunch of scenes in there that would be like, yeah, okay. These are okay. And it's not the worst movie I've ever seen by far, but it just doesn't, for me, it just doesn't do it for me. It really doesn't.
Okay.
The little bit of romantic interest, the fucking Inigo Montoya fucking character, which, god damn it, I can't believe they're gonna make a fucking whole series about this clown.
They're gonna have
god damn,
they're gonna have to do a lot to impress me with that spin.
But and I know I'm in a minority with the Rogue One thing because that's just how I feel about it. It's really it's turned into a fundamental piece of Star Wars, and I appreciate it for that.
Yeah,
I'll watch it, like, want to pick up nuances and see. I mean, shit, the things they did well, they did really well.
Mm-hmm.
The Vader scene is an example of that. Because as it leads into, I even didn't hate CGI Tarkin because I was like, fucking hell, look really at how good that was.
Well, and I love the Empire dick, like right over fucking Jeddah with the Star Destroyer, like hovering.
That it's shit like that. Those were Star Wars scenes, and they were fucking great. And the throwback stuff to the old stormtrooper uniforms and shit like that. That was all good stuff. But you're taking it in pieces. Like, I like this piece, I like that piece, I like that piece. When you put the whole thing together, it just doesn't do it for me.
Interesting.
So
yeah, I was not expecting that to be so low on your list.
Well, that was it.
Okay.
So it's my number 7, right?
Yes.
So my number 7 is Attack of the Clones.
Okay.
So if we think about where my list was previously, which we haven't really talked about.
Yeah, well, I do remember Attack of the Clones was higher than Revenge of the Sith for you.
It was
your old list.
Yeah. So having done this podcast now for almost a couple of years, like you said,
we're approaching 2 years.
And the way we break down some of these things and kind of break it down into like where we are fundamentally in Star Wars and how things are built upon each other and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Attack of the Clones fell back on my list. What I liked about Attack of the Clones when we first taped this was the large battle scenes. Yep. And like, I like this movie's called Attack of the Clones. We got Attack of the Clones.
Yeah.
That's what we got.
Yeah.
But still, as a springboard into what happens later into other movies, it was a little like, instead of climbing, going in, having a nice steady climb into like almost like a cliffhanger into what's going to happen in episode 3.
Yeah.
You just basically got just a slow 50 foot per minute climb. It just, I still like it, comparatively to Phantom Menace. At the CGI got a little bit better because there was a lot of just CGI only stuff. It's like, here you have humans only, you have CGI only. The fucking chase scene with Anakin and Obi-Wan and some of the dialogue in there was just fucking terrible.
It was bad.
And I hate to say anything bad about Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan, but there was some of the dialogue in there where it was really, really forcing it to pretend like he's older.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't need that.
Yeah.
You could have just been yourself. You had the beard, whatever. Stop trying to talk like this. You don't need to do that, dude. Like, you have the character. Like, we all buy into the character.
Yeah.
Nobody should have told you anything to change your voice.
Mm-hmm.
And it was only a couple of scenes. Like, most of the time he was like a fucking Obi-Wan.
Yeah, the one scene in particular that I'm sure you're referring to is, "This weapon is your life."
Yeah, well, that one, and in the fucking like in the elevator and shit. It's just like, look, I get it. You're trying to portray that you're getting a little bit older, whatever. But anyway, without fucking breaking down each part of the fucking movie, again, for me, it was it didn't build enough into what happens later.
Okay.
There was some good scenes, there was some good Star Wars in it, but ultimately it definitely fell on my list.
Interesting. All right. Well, moving right along to my number 7, which is Attack of the Clones. So, I mean, first of all, you cannot talk about Attack of the Clones without talking about Natalie Portman and how just fucking smoking hot she was in that movie.
Such a contrast of things between episode 2 and episode 3, right? With Natalie Portman.
Yeah. Because they were trying to do the whole pregnant thing and all that. But
we're going to talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah, but think about the scene where fucking Anakin's having the nightmares when he's on Naboo with her, and he gets out of bed, he's standing on the water just kind of like at parade rest looking out, and she fucking comes out in that fucking nightgown and her hair all up, and I'm just like, You know.
Well, for me, it was when they're tied to the fucking the poles, and she fucking she gets half her fucking outfit scratched off. You're like, yeah, you can't tell me that they're like, okay, this is how we're going to do this. Like, you know why they did that? Because there's a bunch of fucking perverts out there. They're like, oh my god, this is great. This is the best ever.
Yeah. You know, some of the highlights for me were Camino. When we did our species of Star Wars, the Camino ones were one of mine with their fucking like Apple Store home base, you know, where they were making the clones. And I really enjoyed that. Really enjoyed the clones because this is where it started, right? With the Clone Wars that we're at now, you know, this was where everything started when you kind of get the feel for, all right, so this is where the clones come from. You know, this is who they're cloned off of. And this is kind of the start of everything we've been seeing in the canon with the Clone Wars afterwards. And I think it's just, you know, everything built on this really well. And one thing I didn't talk about the last time we did this was my experience watching this in the theater for the first time, Attack of the Clones, where even though we had the disappointing Phantom Menace, it was still like a midnight show. We had a fucking big fucking showing that night. A lot of like hardcore Star Wars nerds all like really hyped up. The final lightsaber battle happens with Dooku, fucking Anakin and Obi-Wan. He fucking smokes them both, and he's just like, all right. And then you hear click, click, and then you see fucking Yoda's shadow coming around the fucking corner. Everybody in the fucking crowd was just like, yeah, they're all fucking like clapping. And then when he pulled out his fucking lightsaber, everybody's like, holy shit. Like the atmosphere when you watch this for the first time in theaters was just fucking off the chains.
Yeah.
So
it was good. It was very, let's think of it this way. It was so redeeming from Phantom Menace because so many like Star Wars fans who saw it multiple times. And, you know, us being one of those.
Yeah.
Because it was our first Star Wars experience for so long. And then going to like, it didn't, I still went and saw Attack of the Clones. It wasn't like the people that are bitching about The Last Jedi. And I was like, I'm not seeing anything else. I'm like, yes, you are.
Yeah.
Or you know what? If you're not good, that's one less fucking person I got to worry about being in my fucking theater to watch my favorite movies of all time.
That's true.
Go ahead. Don't go to this fucking thing. Be a little bitch and be like, I'm not going to see it because it's bullshit. But whatever. Go ahead. Do I give a fuck? No, I do not. Because we suffered through Phantom Menace in the movie theater and we went in droves to go see Attack of the Clones. And it was redeeming. It really was. So fuck them.
Yeah, I agree.
Raise the prices too, just like Disneyland.
Yeah, I know, right?
Keep the riffraff out, like Jason said.
So all right, this is where shit's about to get real. So we're moving into my number 6.
Hang on, I gotta get a crunchy fucking cough drop here.
All right. So my number 6. Hold on, let me see what's going on in the chat. Oh, Lynn Brown's talking shit about Natalie Portman. That's
like I said, who cares?
Yeah. So anyway,
acting's not part of her gig.
My number 6.
She's Israeli.
She is. Not nearly as hot as Gal Gadot though. When we talk about hot Israelis,
that's
like I think Gal Gadot wins that battle.
Fucking Amazon woman.
Yeah, she's gorgeous.
Anyway, only redeeming thing out of DC and like fucking ever.
Yeah. Which apparently Aquaman is actually doing really well. Which is like, what the fuck?
Because you got a bunch of broads going to see fucking Chisel Chest, fucking you know, got it all wet, just fucking hair and shit. What?
Anyway, my number 6, Solo. So I was really torn as to where I was going to put this. It's a very strange Star Wars movie. First of all, when we came out of it last May, it was like, you know what? It wasn't bad. And I say that now, like, not bad at all. It's a okay Star Wars movie. You know, you've got issues with Alden Ehrenreich. Like, I think he's the Achilles heel of this movie because it's the Solo movie, first of all. And you can tell he's just trying so hard to be Solo and to mimic Solo. And you're just like, I'm kind of buying it, but not really. But I'll give you a pass for now because everything around you is going okay. So your dialogue isn't the worst. Your acting isn't the absolute worst. So I'm going to give you a pass, even though you're the main character and you're supposed to be who this whole movie is focused around based on this fucking character that we loved from these original movies. You're just okay. So we're going to let it pass. And that's kind of how I feel about Solo in general. Some of the notes I wrote was, you know, given the fact that it had such a shit production with the changing directors 70% through the movie and having to reshoot a bunch of it, it came out okay. You know, that, and clearly it was meant to have a sequel. Like the way it ended, this did not end at a logical closure point where it's like fucking Kira and Darth Maul and that whole fucking thing. Obviously, there was meant to be some sort of follow-on, which there probably will never be now because it was not as successful financially.
I don't know about that.
Well, we'll see. But yeah, clearly it was meant to have a sequel.
We need to get $2 and throw it on the board.
Ooh, yeah, we should do that.
And right now, just not to throw you off, but Aquaman is getting rave reviews in the chat.
Oh, nice.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, me either.
I've been so fucking busy.
Yeah, but yeah, from everything I've seen and heard, it's not the worst.
Cool.
And that's kind of how I feel about Solo. Solo's not the worst. It's better than any of the prequels in my mind. And that's all I got to say about that.
Cool.
So your number 6.
My number 6 is Solo.
Jeez, look at that. We're like this, man.
Yeah, that's from sitting here talking about Star Wars for a couple of years.
That's true. Yeah.
So my feel on Solo, and this was really, really hard.
That's what she
this
said.
Part. Yes, she did. This part for me, honestly, like I said before, 8 through 5, it was just very, very difficult to rank because there's good things and there's bad things. I agree with you. Our expectation for Solo.
Yeah, we're Solo for Solo.
Yeah, Han Solo. It I just get distracted by the chat. Sorry.
Yeah.
And that'll sound really awkward when the truncated silence comes out. Son of a bitch. And then I talked about it, so everybody will wonder. So yeah, I guess that's probably a thing I should think about, like being if I'm going to be a professional on whatever.
Yeah. It's more interesting if this thing sucks.
Yeah, it's more funny when I fuck up.
Yeah.
Anyway, I agree with you with the Alan Alden, Einreich, Herr Hitler, whatever. What? He was the weakest link in this movie, and we kind of thought he would be based on the trailers, right?
Yeah.
When we saw the trailers, and we went into this with low expectations, waiting so long for something to happen, waiting so long for the trailer, and then to walk in there, we're just like, all right, we're watching this because we felt like we had to.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was good.
Yeah.
Fucking, I can't believe you went through your whole thing without mentioning Donald Glover. I mean, Donald Glover was phenomenal in that as reprising Lando.
Yeah.
Like you want to see him do Lando in other movies.
Sure. Yeah.
And because he did it so well, he was so into it.
Yeah.
He was so fucking into it. And you could tell that he was being that character. Seeing the Falcon completely differently with the
like shiny interior and
with the brand new interior and getting to see that version of a YT freighter was really cool. The flying, the music, everything was hitting. Even for a non, like John Williams had the one solo theme.
Yeah.
But that was it. Everything else was, I forget the guy's name. And I'm not going to have a stroke thinking about it, but whoever stepped into that role, I felt like this is the guy. If we're trying out for who's going to be the next John Williams, this guy is in the lead. And yeah, I did not dislike the movie. I mean, the fact that it's like in the middle of the order like this,
which shows it's got to be decent, right?
I'll watch it again.
Yeah.
And yeah, it had its weak moments, but every single Star Wars movie has a moment where you go like, every one of them.
Yeah.
So you can't dwell on that. And unfortunately, like a movie like The Last Jedi had more of those moments than even Solo did.
Sure.
I really like the throwback stuff. When they're up in the guy's tower, in his penthouse with all the old shit, all this old throwback stuff to the Legends materials, things like that.
The old Mandalorian outfit.
Yeah, I can't think of this dude's name either.
Fucking Scarface, whatever it is.
But you want to see more. Like I was hoping going into it, like we're gonna see Han Solo in a fucking TIE fighter, and then seeing him as an infantry guy was a twist, and it wasn't bad. It really wasn't. And the comics actually dwell on it. I finally I opened a bunch of the comics to put them in the I opened the comics to close them up again into fucking, you know, with the cardboard and everything. And I just kind of thumbing through one of the Star Wars ones, and there was references on Hannah Layer talking about like some of the shit that he did, like direct correlation to Rogue One, not Rogue One, to Solo stuff.
Oh shit.
So we're gonna have to get into that at some point. But anyway, Dryden Voss, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, chat, for being my brain. Anyway, yeah, it's middle of the road here does not necessarily mean it was a bad movie.
No, not at all.
But
no, and really from my 9 up are all Star Wars movies I would watch again, but it's just like, how much do I like or not like them, you know?
What's funny, you say from 9 up, like the Phantom Menace, I'd watch, and we've talked about it a bunch of times, and I'll watch the, you know, hour-long special about the making of Phantom Menace more often. I've actually seen that probably more than I've seen the actual Phantom Menace.
That's great.
Just because I like the development into it.
Yeah. So, all right, you done with your number 6?
I'm done with number 6.
All right, number 5.
Number 5 is Revenge of the Sith.
Okay.
So going back, and there's kind of like switch right now for me between Attack of the Clones to Revenge of the Sith.
And that happened with me too, you know, the little bit of flip-flopping almost. But
again, I think it came to the development. There were definitely parts of Revenge of the Sith that you're just like, ugh, God. I think as fans, we tend, and I've been thinking I was actually thinking about this for a few days. I think as fans, like the Natalie Portman character, we basically like stick a fork in because of what happened with her being pregnant, like that additional scene where she looks like shit.
Yeah.
But we know that was filmed later.
Yep.
You know, so they had to bring her back, and it just they fucked that all up. Because even when they're on Volcano Planet again, it's nothing. Mustafar, thank you. Major plot point. I can't fucking remember it.
You will go to the Mustafar system.
Yeah, everything's a system. You know, because she looked good there, but you know, there's some dialogue and everything. The opera scene, which I know you talk about all the time, with Palpatine sitting with Anakin.
That could be one of the best individual scenes in the entire saga, honestly.
And a huge point of the movie where it talks about a character that still has yet to be revealed. You know, when we talk about, well, not to a point where we're actually getting there, but I'm curious why you said that like that. But anyway, the fact of the matter is, there's episode 3 has so much stuff going on that builds directly to the basically when you put does that taste funny?
It does.
Putting on the helmet of Darth Vader, and now Anakin Skywalker is now dead.
Yep.
You know, that point of the movie where he's like, yeah, like freaking out on the thing.
Yeah.
I'll tell you why, like my mindset changed on that. Cause you know, we kind of joke about that part of the movie and whatever. The high ground, the fucking thousands and thousands of memes that are out there about the high ground. Holy shit. I mean, you can't swing a fucking, you know, a keyboard around without hitting a fucking meme about the high ground. And
it's not the high ground way.
My thing with it, from reading some of the comics, reading the Vader series, and kind of there's parts that are overlaying, like when we read the original Vader series, and more importantly to the Vader series that we're currently reviewing.
The new one. It takes place like right on the heels
at
of
that moment.
Yeah.
And it really it makes you appreciate better what was happening between Obi-Wan and Anakin through that entire scene.
Yeah.
I mean, we can extrapolate a lot from that. The way they fought each other, the intensity of the fight, you know, how powerful of a fucking Jedi Obi-Wan was to actually defeat Anakin.
Yeah.
You know, the high ground thing notwithstanding, he took advantage of it. He was the experienced Jedi. He was the person who, I don't know, he was a stronger Jedi.
Yeah. And
probably the strongest Jedi, to be honest, because you get throughout these movies, throughout the prequels, that he feels like something's wrong, but the conflict in him is the fact that, yeah, I know something's wrong, but I'm not Qui-Gon. I'm not going to be a fucking bitch about it. You know, I'm not going to be the Big Lebowski of fucking Star Wars movies. And then at the other side of that is the people like Mace Windu and everyone else who are like, it's this dichotomy between the hard left and the hard right. And Obi-Wan's like right there in the middle.
Yeah.
And, you know, I said it in a previous podcast, but the best place to see both sides is from the middle. and that's where Obi-Wan stood. And it's just such an important part to realize these things. The twins being born, however it was done, the twins being born, you have Luke and Leia, the involvement of Leia going to Alderaan and going with space fucking Jimmy Smits out to fucking Alderaan, and that level of interaction. The movie it's a slower build in the beginning, but as that, it's like I was making that analogy to climbing. Like as you climb into the Mustafar scene, it gets pretty intense. So I really feel like from a developmental standpoint, I have to put it higher because I think it's more important of a movie than necessarily Attack of Clones is.
Okay.
So I talked way too much about that.
You know what? I don't disagree with anything you've said. So moving on. Okay. We ready to bring the heat?
Let's do it.
All right, because the heat is about to start flowing because my number five, which means I like 4 Star Wars movies better than my number 5. My number 5 is Empire Strikes Back.
Okay.
Okay. If you go back and you listen to what I said about it during episode 1 of the All Things Star Wars podcast, I stand by everything I said.
He's afraid of it.
It's, not a lot happens in this movie if you really think about it. If you take the whole Luke, I am your father portion out of it, not a whole lot goes on. It's a lot of talking, a lot of banter, a lot of chit chat, a little bit of fighting here and there, a little bit of space stuff here and there. But really, I understand its place in the Star Wars saga. And I'm not saying it's a bad movie by any stretch. Obviously, the entire original trilogy are just fucking fantastic movies. I don't see what all the fuss is about. The people who fucking love this movie so much, it's like, okay. I mean, it's not bad. It's definitely not bad, but
this doesn't have anything to do with how you watch it the first time. And
well, I mean, that could have something to do with it. The fact that as we mentioned in that first episode, I saw the original trilogy out of order.
Right.
Like I saw the original Star Wars movie, half a dozen times before seeing Return of the Jedi in theaters as a 6-year-old kid, 7-year-old kid. And then I didn't see Empire until like a couple years after that, when we got our first Betamax player. So, I saw them out of order, but at the same time, my tie to the original trilogy is based off of my emotional experiences seeing some of these movies for the first time. And
we can't discount the fact that how our emotional responses to these things.
Yeah.
And because that's what, if you're just trying to, we're not movie critics.
No,
we like what we like.
Yep.
I'm not trying to analyze something for a bigger audience. I'm analyzing it for me.
Yeah.
And I just happen to be have a medium where I can, broadcast that to everyone else who wants to listen to it.
Yeah.
So, but the reality is I don't give a shit what anybody else thinks.
Yeah.
This is how I feel about this movie. So you're right where you need to be.
Yeah.
And so if you want to be wrong, then you can be wrong. I mean, that's fine. It's fine. It's all good.
But I mean, honestly, for me, it's just like, it wasn't that exciting of a movie. It's okay. It's all my favorite characters, all the people that I love. Some okay stuff happens in it. But, once you have that whole big reveal of the Vader father part, what else do you have? Not a whole lot.
Analyze more points. More points about what? What's Bronco Fett looking for here?
I don't know.
I think he just wanted to write anal on the chat.
That could be. So,
all right. So that was your number 5.
So we're moving on to my number 4. So again, anything that's above number 5, I'm sure is going to get heat because you like that more than you like fucking Empire Strikes Back. Yeah. And my number 4 is Rogue One. Like it kind of blew my mind that Rogue One was so low on your list, but yeah, it surpasses Empire Strikes Back for me at this point because you kind of made some allusions to this already, but it is a Star Wars movie. It feels like a Star Wars movie. If John Williams had scored this would be even higher for me. Yes, the music is the only thing that holds this thing down, but otherwise, I liked pretty much every aspect of this movie. Like, I didn't like fucking Cassian's like super thick accent. Which I know you've mentioned before. It's like
many
dude,
times.
what did you say again? Hold on. English, motherfucker. Do you speak it? But No, overall, I liked all the characters. I think that they had specific purposes. I like the fact that they didn't go romantic with Cassian and Jin
till the
that,
end.
but even at the end, it was a hug. There was really nothing beyond that. There was no kissing. There was no. It was almost like a brother sister or just friends kind of thing, just kind of like sharing their last moment together. But I really enjoyed Rogue One. I've sat down and watched it start to finish multiple times because it's still on Netflix right now. I've got the Blu-ray and the UHD and all that shit, and I really like Rogue One. And then, do I have any other notes? They proved that you can do a Star Wars movie without Jedi if you do it right.
Yeah.
It could have easily have gone wrong, but I think it was fine. And it's made better by Rebels. We watched the whole Rebels series now, and so many things from Rebels ties into what happens in Rogue One.
This is true. You bring up a lot of valid points, and it doesn't change where I would put Rogue One on my list. But it is fair to say on my aspect of Rogue One that if it was scored by John Williams, it'd probably be much higher on my list.
Yeah.
Because it sets the tone. It really does. And also but still you can't start a movie completely out of sync of what you know of Star Wars to be and then expect me to just buy into the rest of it.
Yeah.
And the things that are good about Rogue One that you haven't mentioned, I might have alluded to, but the costuming, like getting the 70s mustache, porn stashes and shit like that, taking the cuts from, and I say all this good stuff and people are going to yell at me for having it so low, but it doesn't change that.
No.
I like what I like, but getting clips from episode 4 and incorporating them into that, because the development, if you had just showed me the last fucking 15 minutes of that movie with the fucking calamari admiral and the flying up and doing all the space weather shit that was happening,
and Vader
part, and then getting the shit between Leia, spoiler alert, Princess Leia, getting the disc to Princess Leia. Like, if you just show me that part of it, like, this is one of the best movies I've ever seen. There was just too much. It was just too much for me.
Well, there were some pacing issues, which I've mentioned before.
Yeah. Why? Explain, riddle me this. So Jin takes basically the fucking the gunner uniform from somebody, like when they do the customs entry, right, when they land on this fucking planet. Custom agent comes on, they fucking do a very Star Wars-esque fucking like, hey, you want to come up here? And all of a sudden they come out in your uniforms, right? So good on them for even doing it that way,
of course.
But she's got the uniform on and she's like fucking walking around. She doesn't look like one of them at all. Nobody says a goddamn thing. And yet she does not, like, she's got the fucking face shield fucking set up weird. And Cassian looks like a Imperial officer that hasn't showered in fucking 3 months.
Well,
it's just like, put on disguises like Luke and Han put on the stormtrooper uniforms. Guess what? They looked like stormtroopers. Said, aren't you a little short to be a stormtrooper? That's it. But they looked like stormtroopers. You keep them in the center of the frame of the fucking movie, and then you pan across. I'm not going to lose them in the background. You didn't make them look so fucking different. And I get it. You're confined to what you can do, but that, to me, it's shit like that. It's shit like that. It's like, guys, come on. Like, do better. Do better.
Course, we didn't mention that in The Last Jedi. They did the same thing when, Antonio Bantoro and Finn like stole the Imperial like officer or the First Order officers. And fucking homeboys all like shittily shaven and fucking crazy hair. It's like,
there's
no officer would look like that.
You know what that is? That is decades of being in the military affecting my judgment on something like that, because I'm looking for uniformity. That's why I like the Empire. That's why the Empire is built into our fucking logo, because we were the fucking Empire. Currently are, technically. Still, even me as a contractor. But it's sidebar. I have to stop my thought. Message retracted? How do you do that? You can do that in a chat?
Yeah.
It says message retracted.
Oh, let's see if I can retract a message. So this is riveting for the audio.
Well, it's just funny because listen, I think some of our listeners listen because we interact with them.
All right, so I wrote a message. Now let's see if I can retract it.
How do you even go about doing that?
I don't know. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to like hold down click.
Okay, now what do you click?
Look at that.
Block, report. No, I don't want to report Tom. How do I remove?
What's it say?
Message retracted. Look at that.
Where did you retract from?
I wrote a message and then I retracted it.
I don't even. Air Force officers like that. You know what, Army guys, stop it. That's not even funny.
So
as I show up to work every day in a beard.
Yeah,
but I'm not in uniform anymore. So
all right. So anyway,
it's a foot in the mouth button. Oh,
yeah.
fair enough.
So
I probably need that more times than not.
So that was my 5 and 4. So I think we're up to your 4 now.
My number 4.
Yes.
And I don't know where I stood on this in the last one. Actually, I think my top 4 are pretty much the same. Is my number 4 is Return of the Jedi.
Okay.
So look, we talked at length about Return of the Jedi, and it was my first true theatrical experience with the movies, because I saw Empire as just a wee one. I saw it in a drive-in.
Yeah.
Before I didn't see it in the theater. So Return of the Jedi was the first experience where I was old enough to be in costume, standing out in the line with everybody, because that was a thing back in the day. You didn't get reserved tickets and fucking show up. No, there was lines, bitches.
Yep.
You had to stand in them. So the Isaac's back in the Sipes back in the thing. Apparently he left and came back.
Oh, nice.
Riveting. But Return of the Jedi is, in a way, it's closure to what we know as the original trilogy.
Yeah.
So one thing that the original trilogy had was a beginning and an end.
Yep.
Whatever your thoughts are on Empire Strikes Back, regardless of that, it had a beginning and had an end. The green lightsaber, Luke, it got Luke going out and just choking bitches and really,
that's true. I forgot that he chokes the fucking Gamorrean guards.
So he's using the parts of the Force that are way more. This is the badass side of using the Force, and showing up in the dark and like, oh, Jedi Knight, whatever. It's part of it's at the top of the sacred text, obviously. So, but it's not. There's 3 movies that I like better. I have all this emotional attachment to Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
And as far as the movies go, I think as I watch it now, I'm kind of like sad that it was over at that point. You know what I mean? Because we went so long without seeing something else. And now we have a movie like the Force Awakens that kind of brings it back a little bit. And I probably think a little bit higher of Return of the Jedi now because of Force Awakens. But let's face it, there was good. It was a good movie.
Yeah.
It was a great movie, but it's my number 4.
Okay. Then your number 3.
So my number 3 is.
Now we're getting into the nitty gritty.
Hang on. My daughter at school conference says, want. We got had some little kid ruin the Vader's death in the theater. Is this where Darth Vader dies out loud right before he gets lit up? Little fucker.
That is
you don't
hilarious.
have to ... in this. I think it'll let you say fucker.
Yeah.
Oh, if it doesn't, that's some bullshit.
That's funny.
Jason has a fucking spoiler story.
Yeah.
But
we'll get to that.
My number 3 is Empire Strikes Back.
Okay.
If I didn't say, I already say that out loud.
You did not.
All right. In my head, it was out loud.
I hope I didn't say that out loud.
I cannot control the volume of my voice. So Empire Strikes Back could have very easily fallen to number 4. I really had to think about this.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, I actually did think about this list as opposed to all the other things that I do for the show.
Yep.
I really, really thought about it. Excuse me. You say that there's really nothing going on in Empire. I think if you have to look a little bit deeper. And this is where Han Solo's character basically it's a Han Solo movie, right? When it really comes down to it, with the freezing and carbonite and why things are happening in the way they are and shit like that.
Yeah.
The torture scene, the interaction with Lando, Boba Fett. This is the real. This is the aside holiday special notwithstanding. This is where we really see Boba Fett for real as somebody who's important to the movie. You see there's just introduction to so much more of what's happening in Star Wars, that and it brings the world a little bit, like the galaxy makes it just a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
And I don't even put that much stock in the Luke, I am your father thing. I guess the it's worn off on me after fucking,
30 something years.
30, 37 years or however long it's been.
Yeah.
So that part of it, what I liked about that particular scene was the effortlessness. You have to, in order to appreciate what happened in Return of the Jedi with Vader and Luke fighting, you have to have seen Empire Strikes Back, because Vader fights so effortlessly in Empire Strikes Back when he's fighting Luke. Luke is just a fucking child. Like, it's like watching kids fight in the third grade. You know, they're throwing their arms around, don't really have control of their bodies. And he has just enough information to be dangerous. Let's not forget, this is where Luke meets up with Yoda, where the conflict with where fucking Vader is using Han Solo as bait to get fucking Luke to show up. There's a lot of these little nuances in the plot that, again, can seem pretty flat, but so much of this is like, okay, this is Vader being like Palpatine.
Yeah.
Like, this is how, like, we got a lot of this in the comics as we've grown up in the comics.
That is true too. Yeah. Because a lot of those gaps have been filled in since.
Right. And it's Vader manipulating people and manipulating things very similar to what Palpatine does. And by using Han Solo's bait, using the carbonite, bringing the whole Lando aspect into it, like in the, Lando's outside the unions, and so he's got to work a deal with the bad guys. It's like a dock worker type fucking scenario. And just the fact that I keep coming back to that scene, that fight scene where Vader's just basically like pointing his finger and shit's flying off the fucking walls at Luke.
Yeah, Luke's a child in an adult's game.
Yeah,
basically.
and he fucking like he fights Luke with one hand.
Yeah,
in this, it's a like from swordplay. It's all right. I am superior because I don't have to really put any effort into defend against you.
Right,
I'm using one hand as opposed to using two-handed strikes. Luke's fucking like flailing at this guy like he's got a baseball bat in his hands. So, and all those things build up to Return of the Jedi and make it so important to see where Luke is in Return of the Jedi and how he gets more powerful. Ends up having to use the dark side to really defeat Vader in Return of the Jedi. But it's so developmental, and it's the rinse cycle, if you will, of the washing machine that is Star Wars.
Right.
You have to, like, you go through this cycle in the middle to make everything stronger later on in the movie.
Sure. And of course, that's why when you look at this trilogy as a whole, they're just like the perfect 3 movies.
Yeah.
All put together.
Yeah. The AT-ATs, and the AT-ATs being introduced. You have, again, opening the world up immediately. It's not Tatooine. It's not fucking, the Gavin 4 system. It's like you start immediately on Hoth, and now we're escaping to somewhere else. And so to me, it took the perfectness that is Star Wars, spoiler alert, and expands it out into, okay, this is truly a galaxy. It's a Star Wars galaxy. Like, there's travel to other places and shit like that. So ESB, again, I'm talking about my number 3 here. Yeah, this is my number 3. I'm selling it like it's my fucking number 1. But that's why it's my number. It makes my number 3.
Okay, I like it. So we did my 4 already. So, and then your 4 and 3. All right, so we're doing my 3 and 2 then. My number 3 is The Force Awakens. So we've talked about this movie a lot. For some reason, there's still a lot of controversy about this movie amongst a lot of the modern day haters. But fuck, man, I thought The Force Awakens was fantastic. They made Star Wars fun again. That's what they did with The Force Awakens, because we had the prequels. They were what they were. If there's one thing that I could say is they weren't that fun. It wasn't the funnest time to be a Star Wars fan. Force Awakens made it fun again. And say what you will about The Last Jedi, one way or the other, but I know that there are flaws in Force Awakens. Like, I see some of the things that people say, and I'm like, okay, I could understand that, but I'm able to look past it. Whereas, some people will not let go of the fucking, it's just a remake of, A New Hope. It's Rey's a Mary Sue. But come on, guys. Really? Like, that's going to be your biggest complaint, and that's going to be like why you dog this. In fact, we did a whole episode defending fucking Force Awakens.
Yep.
I think Force Awakens is just such a fun Star Wars movie, and the best part was the fact that they got the original cast back. And as a child of the late 70s and early 80s, we talked about our experiences seeing Jedi in the fucking theaters. This movie was fucking for us, you know. It was that nostalgia thing along with this, oh look, we've got all this new shiny stuff, these new characters and everything else. But you know what, here's everybody you loved at the same time, so it's everybody's cool in the gang. This is just fucking the best, and that's what it was. It just really felt like the best. I understand there was some dumb shit in it, some dumb dialogue, a couple of dumb things that happened, but overall it was not enough to bring this down in my rankings at all. So
okay. That was your number three?
Yep.
Okay.
So we just gonna move right to my number 2?
Yeah.
All right. Number 2.
Why wouldn't we? Haven't we been doing this thing where you do too?
Well, I mean, I normally you chime in, but we'll see what you have to say.
No, go for it.
All right.
I mean, look, there's only so many movies left.
Yeah.
So
we kind of know what's going on here. Number 2, Return of the Jedi. I said this in the last time we ordered the movies. Jedi and New Hope are really close for me, kind of like episodes 2 and 3 are. Jedi has that childhood nostalgia factor to it. Just I still remember sitting in that fucking theater seat, looking up at that screen and watching all this shit go down, watching those fucking matte paintings of fucking Endor, you know, I still remember the fucking Ewok stealing the fucking speeder and jetting off and everybody laughing as he's like, oh shit, you know.
Fucking Ewoks.
We
managed to make it this far without talking about Ewoks.
And, you know, I know there's a lot of hate for the Ewoks, but I still remember sitting in the seat and watching all this go down, watching fucking Luke and Vader fighting, watching fucking Vader pick up Palpatine and throw him down that fucking chasm for the first time, being like, oh shit, that just happened. Yep. You know,
the cool effect with the skeleton. Yeah, with this
fucking
that was just cool.
Yeah, and I mean, so much of my love for this movie is based off of nostalgia, but I could seriously watch this movie from start to finish a fucking dozen times a day, every day, and I would never get tired of it. I love this movie that much.
Yeah.
And it's well done. John Williams at his finest. Fucking not George Lucas directing a Star Wars movie, which is good, you know, and just I think it flowed perfectly.
Awesome. So. Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with anything that you said.
Yep. So we go right into your number 2.
So my number 2 is The Force Awakens.
Okay.
So I'm actually looking at my original episode 1 notes here.
Yeah.
So I had a like and a dislike. And my like was something about this movie gives me the same goosebumps I still get with number 1. Mm-hmm. So much love. And I still have that. I am more likely to rewatch The Force Awakens than any other movie right now, up to and including Star Wars.
Nice.
Every time I watch it, and I've watched it probably within the past month, every time I watch it, I get fucking excited. Yeah. I get excited. It's just like you said. There's a couple of things that I'll tell you what, I can't even think of the things that would be considered bad or just the controversy of it. I don't have any of that shit in my mind at all. All I know is that the fucking score is fantastic.
Yep.
It's one of John Williams' best, which, sidebar on that, I don't know where we're at with time, but
I have no idea. I haven't been paying attention. It's 7 o'clock.
It's 7 o'clock. We got all. We're fine. Slave Girl Leia. Yeah, we forgot about that. Slave Girl Leia. Although Star Wars Leia is still my favorite. But anyway.
Yeah.
Something about the braless thing, I guess, as a kid.
The Coke nail kind of loses it for me, you know.
She doesn't have that in Star Wars.
No, I'm talking about Return of the Jedi.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Where was I? Okay, now what do I click?
Yeah. Force Awakens.
It just I get excited. I get excited with the pan out shots. I get excited with the way the CGI is so seamlessly integrated. I get excited when the Falcon gets introduced. I get really excited when fucking Han Solo shows up.
Yeah.
I get excited when I fucking get like pass out worthy fucking hard-ons when the lightsaber flies into Rey's hand.
Yeah.
In that scene. There's so much that it was just so exciting about this movie.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of it is like going into it with so much hype about, okay, Star Wars is finally back
Mhm.
after being done for so long. The last thing I'd seen in the theater was the Phantom Menace 3D.
Yeah.
And then the
In
next
3D.
and then the next thing I saw was Force Awakens. So the reveal with Kylo Ren and Darth Vader's melted helmet. I mean, just like the shock of that fucking scene.
Yeah.
How Kylo Ren used the Force, stopping fucking blaster bolts in
Something
midair.
we'd never seen before.
And again, there's campy dialogue and everything else in this movie.
But that goes all the way back to the original.
Every fucking movie has had something like that where it might be cringeworthy now as you get older, but you think about it when you're just sitting there watching it and you're in the flow of it. Almost every single one of these movies, I can say, aside from a few instances where like I sat there and rapt attention and didn't really get put off by something.
Right.
Probably The Last Jedi is where I felt it the worst, because even when I watched The Phantom Menace, like the Jar Jar stuff and everything else, I'm watching it to see what happens. I wasn't necessarily off put by it until I like really got to completion. And it was just like, oh God, man, that was really, I use that word. I see that look. I don't know why I chose that word, but whatever. But yeah, it's Force Awakens. It's a goosebump inducing, extremely rewatchable.
Yeah.
On a scale of 1 to 10, I'll 10 every time I will rewatch this movie.
Yeah.
I'll put it in, and the soundtrack alone to completion. I want sexy points for to completion, by the way. It has
well, we talked about, like, for me, Rey's theme, the scavenger.
Oh, I was talking about music. Yeah.
That beautiful piece of music. John Williams just at his finest.
Oh God, yeah. That the Falcon flying through being chased by the 2 TIE fighters on Jakku.
Yeah, that whole scene, the music, the effects. It was all good. Yeah.
I listened to that soundtrack all the fucking time. I listened to it today when I was like finalizing my list while I was driving. And I need to, all right, let me put on some Star Wars, and I go right to the Force Awakens soundtrack. I mean, I don't know all the music really well. I'm kind of Star Wars is my, this is what my music trend is, I guess.
Yeah.
Especially for classical music or orchestral music. Like Star Wars is the baseline for me.
Sure. Yeah.
So, and I know the music really, really well.
Yeah.
But that being said, that's Force Awakens, faux show.
So here's a question. Do you think the fact that one of the reasons why we don't like The Last Jedi so much is because the bar was set so high with Force Awakens for us? Like we had so much love for Force Awakens, both of us. Do you think because Last Jedi didn't, come close to that at all, that kind of takes it down even further in our eyes because it didn't meet those expectations set by Force Awakens?
So I'm going to tell you exactly what I think about that. You're absolutely right. I think coming off of Force Awakens, coming off of J.J. Abrams, what he did to the movie to modernize it, yet kept us in that same mindset that we're watching a Star Wars movie, having those reveals. His one fucking the glare shot, whatever.
Oh, the lens flare.
It was J.J. Abrams did such a good job of getting us back into a Star Wars movie mindset.
Yeah.
And it sent our expectations so high. We started a podcast talking about Star Wars. So coming off of Force Awakens, starting a podcast about Star Wars, and the hype that we made between us getting ready for that movie, let alone anybody else around us, just us talking about it and doing a podcast about it and all those things, we could not help but be disappointed.
Yeah.
And it affects us in our rankings, quite frankly. I know it does.
Yeah.
And it's unfair to the movie, probably. And again, time will tell. But The Force Awakens was so good. And it was unexpectedly good.
Yeah.
Like the haters are out there hating on the fact that they wanted something, they wanted people in 70s clothing, and they wanted the same speed that Star Wars was, and they didn't get that. They got a more modern version of what the movie going experience was, because this is what we come to expect in an action movie now. You can't make the same movie. You can't have the same pacing. You have to modernize it.
Sure,
and
yeah.
we're at a point now where CGI is so fucking good that you're not. Have you seen, even in Last Jedi, has there been a point where you've been like, okay, that CGI looks like shit?
No,
not once, not fucking once in these movies.
Yeah.
So it just goes to show. Again, speaking to what you said in our episode 1 about managing, having expectations managed.
Yeah.
Going into episode 9, we need to be fully aware of that going into it. And it's
gonna
going to be hard. It's going to be fucking hard because we're at a point now, like there's no fucking trailer. Like honestly, I almost added, like penciled in fucking number. Well, it would have been number 11 because I forgot Columbus, but number 12 would be fucking episode 9 because we don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
We're on hold. We're on hold with the fucking insurance company. Like, it's like, oh, please hold for fucking, and you're listening to fucking hold music for, I don't know,
months,
almost a year.
Yeah.
I mean, what the fuck, over?
Yeah.
Anyway.
But as soon as we do start seeing trailers,
yeah,
that anticipation is just
going to go. Like right now, I'm pissed off because I haven't seen anything about it. And it's like, it's bringing it like, fuck this movie. But as soon as the trailer comes out, then, I agree with Reversed. Whoever that is. Hi, I haven't seen you in the chat before. Hi, how's it going?
Is it Brother Fett?
Reversed?
Brother Fett likes to make different fucking YouTube handles all the time.
Well, whatever. Whoever Reversed is.
Yeah, well, whoever you are, thank you. And he likes your thought. And yeah, we do.
Oh,
I would like to think that JJ is going to bring it home for us. Like, honestly, for episode 9. But I digress because we have one more movie left in our list. We each have our number ones to reveal. Since neither of us have talked about the last movie, obviously both of our number ones is going to be episode 4, A New Hope.
Yep.
So we can just kind of cover this one together at this point. So I wrote in my notes, still perfect. And I'm so mad that I missed the live orchestra version that you got to go to last summer while I was sitting in fucking Mississippi.
It was so good.
Yeah.
It was so good. They're doing it in New Jersey right now. They're at the New Jersey Orchestra. So it's up north somewhere.
Yeah.
I've been watching it tacitly, and it was a little more expensive than it was at the Man.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was in some, I looked, I was like, man, that's kind of pricey.
Plus, is it probably like an Edison or somewhere like way the fuck North Jersey?
I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah,
like it pops up in my sponsored shit in the fucking Facebook. And I'm like, I'd rather see it in Philly. I'd rather see it in the Man because you have the opportunity to do the outdoor experience.
Yeah.
And it's not a drive. I mean, in theory, we could Uber there.
Yeah, or we could take the fucking train or
a train would be tough to get to the Man, but I don't know, whatever.
Either way.
Hang on. Again, this is a point where I could not be saying anything. I could get eliminated by truncated silence, but I chose not to.
He's just gonna keep talking because that's what he does.
All right. Because that's whoops. It's funny.
And thank you, Reversed.
Yeah. So. Well, thank you. Beer swing football fans. Anyway, what do I click?
We were talking about episode 4. The
orchestra. The orchestra. It was fantastic. It's the fucking perfect movie. In my notes from the first one, episode 1, it was, I will be buried with a copy of this film, and that is absolutely true. Or I'll be cremated with a copy of this film, whatever.
Yeah.
But
go finish your thought.
That was my thought.
Okay. So here's a little twist to this whole list thing. I am strictly referring to theatrical releases for all these movies, talking about the original trilogy. If we were forced to rank these based on these special editions, 100% Jedi and New Hope would be swapped for me. Because I think the special edition of New Hope drives it down so much that Jedi would overtake it in my list if we had to strictly go with the special editions.
So why is that? Because New Hope, it wasn't so... To me, A New Hope was... Yeah, there was some added scenes.
It was Tatooine. The whole Tatooine portion was just...
But if you take those out, I mean, there wasn't like CGI overlay. I don't know. It just, to me, it wasn't the most heinous fucking disaster of
Greedo
of the
shooting
three.
first was the most heinous of the entire special editions. For
All
me.
right, I mean that's
And then
from a political standpoint, like if
Yeah.
them trying to make a statement or whatever, yeah, that was kind of bullshit. But
but the Jabba scene, just very
Yeah.
cringeworthy.
well, I'm with. To be honest, I'm with you. I wasn't even thinking about whether it was special edition or not. I just went with what my like. I will sit there and watch Star Wars without the special edition, or with the special edition because I don't have the ability to watch it without. And it's whatever. Those scenes will just go. Like I'll close my eyes and not think about it. Or I'll just I don't dwell on it with Star Wars because I know what I like from the original. I don't need. I won't not watch the special edition version, because there's maybe 10 minutes of bullshit in it that was added by George. So I'll just take those 10 minutes and it'll just go away.
Yeah. Although I will say in the newest versions of the special edition, the ghost scene at the end of Return of the Jedi is kind of bullshit too, with Hayden Christensen and his little fucking pervy stare.
Because old Obi-Wan and old Yoda are there. Why put Hayden Christensen in there? That's just
it makes no sense. Yeah. But anyway, that's really all I had to say. Otherwise, New Hope fucking just
it's the beginning. It's the beginning of all of this. It's the beginning of all of this legitimately. And without that, we wouldn't be here talking about it.
No.
And
I think I may even have brought this up in our first episode. Had we not had Star Wars between us, would we have been as good of friends?
I don't know.
Would we have had all of this stuff to share? Talking about, when Force Awakens came out, we were talking about books and comics and
probably not, because I would just, drove you into the ground about being a San Francisco fan. You probably wouldn't have talked to me.
That's true. Yeah, we did have football between us too, so that was always good. So yeah, that's the list. A lot of things were the same. Some very interesting changes, I'd say, for both of us. And it's just kind of funny that we both put The Last Jedi without knowing what each other was going to rank.
Well, Last Jedi or fucking
or Solo for that matter.
Episode 2.
Yeah, it was good. I'm glad we did this. And now the question is, how often do we do this? Do we do it every 2 Star Wars movies? Every few years? Like, what do we want to set a precedent for this? Because right now we're doing it every 2 years, every 2 movies kind of thing.
I don't know. I think we should the one good thing about this podcast is we're not a slave to fucking trends or patterns or anything like that. So
we do it live.
Fuck it.
Yeah.
Hail to the Redskins.
Interesting.
Oh, the younglings. There's so much other shit we can talk about.
Yeah.
Like I really think we have to make it a point with the lead up into episode 9 where we need to talk about the other movies more. Like we need to break them down.
Sure.
For this podcast.
Yeah.
Reverting back to the problem with the podcast that we put on for RTJ from
Project VCR.
Yeah. Is that it wasn't our dialogue exclusively.
Yeah.
There was definitely some fun parts with it, but it's not, to me, it's not the same podcast. It wasn't the
no,
same level
no,
of
yeah,
interaction.
it was very different, but you could see the seeds being planted for what
absolutely
eventually became all things Star Wars. But and it's funny you bring that up because some of these movies I haven't watched start to finish in years. Like Phantom Menace, haven't watched that all the way through in quite possibly a fucking decade. I'll still pull up on YouTube the fucking lightsaber battle or some other random scenes. God. But
Rey catching the lightsaber, I'll put that on in the car so I can just hear the music. I'll fucking make that so loud that on the turnpike going 80 miles an hour, other cars can hear it because I know how I know they can hear it because they look at me. They look at the car because it's so fucking loud.
So, but yeah, I wouldn't mind going back and watching some of these movies and actually take them like a movie review and talk about it start to finish. Attack of the Clones, even Attack of the Clones, which is a movie I really like. Probably haven't watched it all the way through start to finish in years.
Yeah, I think it. I know we're supposed to be watching Clone Wars and shit, but the movies are way more fun.
They are. The Clone Wars is getting better, at least.
It is. I think I'll be more apt to sit down and watch a movie than try and because I don't need to take notes in the movie.
That is
true. You know what I mean? It's like the one thing that's tough about Clone Wars, I'm trying to watch it for analysis. I don't have to do that with the cinematic releases because I've seen them so many times.
Yeah.
I could just sit there and enjoy it. And when we're talking about it, things will come up, even though my recall memory isn't very good right now. And I probably will write some shit down.
Yeah.
But just our interaction just kind of brings some brings some of the good stuff up.
Sure.
But yeah, we'll make that a focus here between now and episode 9, our own personal little, you know, kind of retake on the movies and work our way through them.
Yeah.
Until we get there. We got plenty of weeks to do it.
So,
and oh, by the way, I don't know if you remember this, but we said, I think after The Last Jedi or some point before The Last Jedi came out, we said that we were going to sit through a marathon in the theater.
Yeah, that's right.
So we have to start really thinking about that.
I'm sure. Yeah. Cause if there are theaters that are doing this, you probably got to buy your tickets fucking 6 months in advance.
As soon as that shit comes open.
Yeah.
So it's something we got to keep on our cross check.
Yeah. Cause that I'd love to do it. I'd really love to do it. Like one time in my life, do the marathon of the entire Skywalker saga, as they're calling it.
Yeah.
And kind of see how this thing ends.
Yeah, we talked about it on that episode. Yeah. We said that like, oh, okay, they're doing it, and we're going to do it.
Yeah.
I think the conversation was, we talked about doing it for Last Jedi, and then we're like, well, why don't we wait and do it for the conclusion of the trilogy?
Yeah.
And here it is on our doorstep. Can you fucking believe that?
That's crazy to think about.
Yeah,
we'll have to do really some research. Anybody out there who knows if they're doing this stuff, let us know. But all right, that's it.
We'll to reference some stuff in the chat. I do agree. Star Wars friends are our best friends, and the Mystery Science Theater for episode 100. We'll figure something out, because I think is a little bit too blasé. It needs to be big.
Yeah,
we'll think on this.
Yep. So
I'll meditate on it.
Yeah. We'll make it good though. We still got 11 episodes to go before then, but you and I are gonna have to shotgun like 3 episodes back to back because these guys are coming a little bit earlier than episode 100 was supposed to drop. So
we'll do it live.
Yeah, fuck it. So all right, well that's it. Again, next week's recording might be on Tuesday next week, a week after we're recording this one. Don't know 100% for sure yet because I am leaving the state for a few days. So who the fuck knows what's gonna happen with that.
We'll figure out. That's going to be an early day for you. So
yeah,
because I think you're landing in Philly at 7:30
in the morning. So, yeah, so it's early.
You'll get to meet the puppy for sure that day.
That's cool.
I have a vet appointment right after that, so I'm basically picking you up and going right to the vet.
Nice. And then we got to talk about Thursday if you're actually going to do that for me. Okay, so because that's going to be fucking early.
Yeah, I don't know. I get up early anyway.
All right,
not a big deal.
Dave is very reliable when it comes for rides to the airport.
Yeah, I like driving the airport.
Yeah, it's good stuff. It's like right over there.
So. right on the other side of the train.
Yes. So anyway, we're going to get out of here. No idea what our fucking topic's going to be next week. I'm taking a laptop with me, so maybe I'll try to watch some Clone Wars because Clone Wars is still on Netflix. So as long as I have an internet connection, I can watch Clone Wars. So maybe I'll do that this weekend as I'm sitting in my hotel room in Bakersfield, California. So
no, never mind.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll figure it out. And until then, thank you everybody for joining us. And Dave, may the force be with you.
Subscribe. May the force be with you. Okay, now what do I click? Almost 2 hours. Wow.
Peace, bitches.
Bye, guys.